reason. The dictionary says that this usage of countenance means approval or favor, moral support, permit or tolerate. It is our duty as citizens to observe if those who serve in the government are not engaged in these behaviors. Marcus Tullius Cicero wrote, "A nation can survive its fools, and even the ambitious, but it cannot survive treason from within. An enemy at the gates is less formidable, for he is known and carries his banner openly. But the traitor moves amongst those within the gate freely, his sly whispers rustling through all the alleys, heard in the very halls of government itself. For the traitor appears not a traitor. He speaks in accents familiar to his victims, and he wears their face and their arguments. He appeals to the baseness that lies deep in the hearts of all men. He rots the soul of a nation. He works secretly and unknown in the night to undermine the pillars of the city. He infects the body politic so that it can no longer resist. A murderer is less to fear. The traitor is the plague." Those are wise words from Cicero, ones that we want to heed. Our founding fathers said we are to be vigilant, to guard our liberties. The traitor is like a snake, weaving his trail throughout the culture, laying ideological eggs where he can. The traitor infiltrates the body politic and makes his way throughout Congress, garnering congressional support for his ploys. He damages the halls of Congress where it becomes malleable and weak in his hands, to the point where it will not do its job. He makes his way throughout the rest of government, where it does his bidding for him. He undermines those pillars of the city, religion and morality. George Washington said, "Religion and morality are the essential pillars of civil society." With these pillars undermined by the traitor, and his voice resonating in the government, with the Hollywood elite and educators du jour in the sciences and the arts, his sickness spreads until the soul of the nation is rotted. With a rotted soul, the nation falls. The traitor, indeed, is the plague. And this is your constitutional moment.
Well, there you go. Now you know a little bit more about the Constitution than you knew a few minutes ago. Well, welcome back to Right Opinions. We are on live every Thursday afternoon from 2 until 4 p.m. here Eastern on Spreaker. Now, we want you to hear this tax man. All right, listen up. There's a word in there. You're going to have to hear it the right way it's meant, not the wrong way.
Silver don't get any gold. That taxman's bounty is a sight to behold. He came, he saw, he took it all. The taxman, he's after my haul. I know the Sabbath is a day of rest. The man pays double time, you can guess the rest. I hear him knock, knock, knocking at my door. He wants this income tax and VAT and more. My wheels are off the road, petrol prices stink, and council tax is enough to drive a man to drink. He came, he saw, he took it all. The tax man, he's after us all. He took it all. The taxman, he's having a ball. Now you can run and you can hide. You ain't escaping, She won't be your wife. He came, he saw, he took it all. The tax man, he's after you all. He came, he saw, he took it all. He came, he saw, he's after us all. He came, he saw, he took it all. The tax man, he's having a ball.
The tax man. We have more taxes than we ever wanted, and I'll tell you what. Let me give you some promos for our show. We have shows on in the evenings for you, and Sunday evening from 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern. Join John, George, and Mark for Patriots on Wheels. On Monday evening, join Glow and Adrienne, Sisters for Freedom. They're on 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern. On Tuesday evenings, you can hear Liberty to Go with Dawn and Brandon from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern. Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern, you can hear John Matthews with the Conservative Syndicate. And on Friday evenings from 7 to 9 Eastern, Robert Cardosa Live. All right, we are back, and we are going to start off after our little jingle there, and everybody's welcome back. We're going to start off with Mary, and we'll see what you have to say about taxes and IRS. And
I want to talk a little bit about, because it's real popular as an alternative tax, the flat tax. So I looked up the definition for those that don't understand it. It's a system that applies the same tax rate to every taxpayer regardless of income bracket. A flat tax applies the same tax rate to all taxpayers with no deductions or exemptions allowed, which sounds pretty good, but there's some pros and there's some cons. It's nice that everyone will pay taxes. For a car, they'll pay the same taxes. For groceries, if they have a tax, it'll be on the luxury items and things. But the cons are, especially for middle class and low income individuals, they spend money for these taxes on buying the necessities. Then they don't have the extra money to buy the things that the wealthy do. So there again, you're going to have that problem between, okay, why are the wealthy not paying taxes like the low income? So it has its cons, but in the same respect, it helps with the formation of capital, because you're getting tax money every time you spend something. But the problem, it began in Eastern Europe. I don't know if you realize that, but Estonia, they had their first flat tax in 1994, and then Lithuania and Latvia followed it. And the problem is they tax citizens at 24%. And now it's gone down to 21%. And the problem is, at first it's a real boon to the economy, but now if you look at those countries, they're experiencing economic difficulties because despite high tax rates, which we would have, flat tax would be high, according to the country's leaders, the tax revenue does not cover the state level cost. So when that happens, there's no way to adjust it because it's a set rate. And that's something that people have to consider when they say flat tax is wonderful, because it does have some pros, but it also has some cons. So there's a lot to look at when we look at adjusting taxes, but I will say one thing. We do not want to become like Sweden. I think it's the country, or Switzerland rather, where it's like 65% of your income goes to taxes. And that's where we're seeing with this Obamacare, which people think that's just their medical care. It's not. It has to do with our taxes too. And there's going to be a raise this year, and there'll be a raise in a couple years. And what's happening is, with that increase of taxes, it's not going back into the population. It's going into these programs for other countries. And that is a major vent for me, is how much money we're giving to places like Palestine, to countries that hate us. And that's where our tax money's going. And that's my say.
and there's that.
I say we
Exactly.
let them hate us for free.
Yes. And then at least they won't be building bombs and things against us with our money.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, all right. We are looking at We lost Roland in the call, and we can't get him back, so we're going to just fill up next with Mona.
Well, one of the things about having a flat tax or a fixed tax, whichever one you want to call it, is that it does everybody paying the same percentage rate, that you don't have to disclose your income to the government. That's a plus. The other thing on the negative side are the ones that want everything from the government and don't want to contribute anything back. They're all whining because they'd have to actually pay some taxes. I always see in my mind's eye, because I'm really totally tax dumb. I am not an expert in any way whatsoever on taxes. In fact, I turn that over to my husband and let him fool with that because I don't know anything about it. But the one thing I get in my head about the fixed taxes is kind of like you put a sales tax on everything, which we have now, but you just wouldn't have any exemptions from it. You just, everybody be paying kind of a sales tax. That's the way I see it in my head. Whether or not that's correct, I don't know. The only thing I do know is that the IRS is so corrupt and despicable and poorly run and just needs to be annihilated and started all over again. That thing needs to go, along with a lot of other agency, especially with their newfound leader who said that'll never happen. The IRS will never be gotten rid of. Well, I think it should be gotten rid of along with him, and I think that he should disappear in the IRS just like Lois Lerner's emails disappeared. They just should go out into the great beyond somewhere. But one of the things, too, is that with Obamacare, that this year Obamacare, the penalty for not having it was increased a great deal. I don't have Obamacare. I don't hope that God is very good to me and doesn't allow me to have Obamacare. I have my own source of income, my own source of insurance. But I do know that these folks are going to be suffering a big penalty for not signing up when they should have signed up for it. And I guess I should go along with what Jesus said when the tax collector came up to him trying to goad him into being against the government. And he said, give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar and give to God what belongs to God. I just think that in our case, Caesar is a big old crook and doesn't deserve all he gets.
I don't think anybody can argue with that statement.
Mercy, no.
I think that's pretty clear.
You know what bothers me, Mona, and you happen to mention that with signing up with Obamacare, as we call it, many of the Affordable Care Act, is that they discovered that those that did sign up through ACA, Obamacare, they get higher than expected refunds. Were those that went another direction with their own insurance or didn't have anything, they got, I think it was like $3,900 less than expected back. And it kind of makes you wonder, okay, pat on the heads that listened to me and did what I told them to and got it for next to nothing, for the ones that got free, quote unquote, insurance, or why are they getting more money back than expected, but the ones who have their own insurance that meets the things and they didn't go through the ACA, why are they getting less? And that really bothers me.
Well, when you have a dictator, that dictator can just decide what he wants to do to you. And that's what we've got right now, because we have such a weak and ineffective Congress that won't go up against him, and they just allow him to do at will to the people what he wants to do to them, like doing that, What else can you expect? You can't have anybody fighting for you. There's nobody up there in Washington, D.C. that's going to fight for us except a few people, a handful, and they get overridden every time. Yeah, the one thing that they're going to do, I understand, is they're going to do away with paper tax forms and make you go online. Now, picture that with the screw-up that happened with Obamacare. Can you just imagine what that mess is going to be?
Well,
they need to turn it over to a teenager. They know how to do computers.
Name something that isn't a mess, huh? Yeah.
No kidding.
Okay, Teresa, go ahead.
Well, on the topic of Obamacare, I'll start there because I just